In this video, we begin forward strides. That's the fifth stance. This is a spot where many of you are going to start having more of a problem than you were before. It's because this movement is more complex. You need more dynamic postural control. And why is this forward stride more of a problem? Why should it be so much different than just this? You're still using the same flexing foot. You're doing the heel lift. You're pushing pressure into the ball and toes of that foot to allow this heel to come up as you continue that push. And you're pushing yourself onto this foot. And when you're doing that and coming forward, that's exactly what you're doing here. It's the same movement, but one is going to the side and the other is going forward. So why should that be so difficult? You're starting out standing on the length of both feet. Even though you're on the inside pressure, the entire length of your foot is in contact with the floor that's supporting you. And now as you push yourself over, yes, you're only using the ball and big toe, the ball and big toe of this pushing foot. You're still staying on the entire length of this foot, and then as you come over, now you're centered in that foot using the entire foot. Big difference. Staying on the length of this foot during the entire movement. Well, look at it, the difference coming forward. You're coming onto one foot all by itself. Here, you were continually using 2 feet. Here, 1 foot. You have to transfer that weight completely to this foot to get this foot off the floor. And then with the flexing foot, you will be pushing your body forward onto this foot. So as this foot flexes and as you're moving forward, you're coming onto the ball area and toes of this back foot to support your body completely as your body is being pushed forward by that foot, by just the ball and toe area of this pushing foot, until you come onto this foot far enough where this foot begins to support part of your body weight and then all of it as you transition forward. But how long does that take? Now let me get the chair here for a little support so I can show you. As you're coming forward, this knee comes up, you're pushing your body forward, and now see what I'm doing with this foot? The heel is becoming light because to begin the movement, you have pressure on the forward part of the foot, the ball area and toes of the foot. So it's already light back there in the heel area. So as your body is coming forward with this advancing knee, you're supporting yourself just on the forward part of that foot. And when this heel comes down here, look where I am back here. When the heel of the advancing foot contacts the floor, it can only have a very light pressure on it, or what I term as a passive pressure. Because this foot is continuing to push your body forward, and this foot is continuing to move, flattening on the floor as your body moves forward onto it. And then you just transition from one foot to the other foot. Now, when that foot comes in contact with the floor, or I should say, when that heel first comes in contact with the floor, if it has substantial pressure on it, what is the result? Okay, let's do that again. If I'm here and that pressure in this foot is heavy, like I'm doing right here, where is it pushing? Now, look at where my body is. Look at where that foot is. It's on the heel. Well, if I'm standing on 2 feet and I'm back like this, that pressure of my heavy on my heels is pushing down and forward. It's the same thing right here. That pressure is pushing down and forward, which is pushing your body back. And that's why you'll see people with these restricted postures start to move forward and do this. It's because they're applying too much pressure into that heel as they're attempting to move their body forward, and the heel is pushing them back. And the reason for that is they're not supporting their weight on this foot. They're applying too much pressure in that forward foot, and then their body can't move forward because that pressure is pushing them back. So to get beyond that, they have to build up the strength and the confidence to just be able to use this foot. So it's another reason why people with a restrictive posture need to keep their stride smaller. So when they do come down and this pressure is heavier than what it should be, there's more of the flattened heel on the floor, and it's not pushing them back as much. So they're able to come forward. And what's the effect of that? One effect is they'll have a heavier walk because they're back here on their heels too much. The other is, with that stiffened foot, a slapping of the front of their foot down on the floor as they move onto it. So what's the one thing you can do, or should have been doing, to prepare yourself for this forward stride? Heel lift. Practicing your heel lift. Practicing keeping this posture forward, keeping yourself on the ball and toe areas of both feet, and up and down, staying there. And then doing it on one foot. You must be doing it on one foot at a time while you're practicing it. Why? Because that's what's required when you're doing this forward stride. And you need to develop the confidence, the relaxation, and the ability to do that out here in the middle of the floor and walk around holding that. You must practice these things. If you don't have the ability to do this, you're not going to have the ability to walk forward with larger strides. You're not going to have the ability to walk smoothly as you wish you could. You're going to have more problems. You're going to be off. Your stance, your gait pattern is going to be wider. Your feet will be held wider apart because you'll still be here on the inside of your feet doing this. To get those feet to come closer together, you must have the ability here to stay towards the center of that foot and support yourself only with the ball and toes of that foot, one at a time, because that's what's required for this. Now, there's another thing that is problematic with this, and it's still talking about the orientation of the foot, and that is you're on this one foot transitioning onto that heel, but as you're moving forward onto this foot, you're moving forward sequentially through the length of the foot, but you're using the narrow width of the foot as you're going forward. To be able to do that efficiently, this foot needs to be flexing, this knee needs to be flexing, or at least have a relaxed enough posture that the foot is allowed to flex to be able to compensate for any errors, for any position change, any posture change, any conditions that are required to keep control of the body, to keep control of the movement so it goes like it needs to. But the foot needs to be relaxed to be able to accomplish all that. which means this has to be relaxed, which means you must have the strength enough to support yourself on just this part of your foot as you come forward. For all those reasons, that's why the forward stride is the problem at this point. When we get to the sixth stance, the forward lunge squat, it takes a little bit more ability, but when you get through the fifth stance, just the forward stride, now the only thing you're going to be adding is this squat, which is not that big of a deal, except now you're doing it up there on the 1 foot and the whole bit, which is part of what you're practicing here in that fourth stance, the side movement. So things are becoming more complex. You just need to do things better. Not perfect. You just have to have better control of the pressure in your feet, better control of the relaxation of your body, better control of the coordinated movements, relaxation, and the body will go where it needs to go as long as you have the ability to control the pressures in your feet, which requires relaxing feet. And of course, you have to have the strength to be able to do all of this stuff. So if you're weak, you're not going to have the ability to do as well as you would like to. And if you have the bird legs with these muscles down here that are atrophied, that are shrunken in size, your walking pattern going forward is going to be very, very limited because these muscles down here in your calf won't be able to generate enough pressure and stability on that foot for you to be able to control your body weight on that foot. You won't even be able to support your body weight on that area of your foot because those muscles are weak and the rest of them aren't as strong as they should be either. When those muscles become that small, where it looks like just a skinny little bird leg down there, that's the key that tells anybody that's watching this person will not be able to walk forward very well because of that. So any therapist, any caregivers, any helpers, whatever, if your family member, friend, or client, patient has those skinny little calf muscles, stop trying to get them to do a normal walking pattern because they're physically unable to do it. They must strengthen those muscles up first before that's going to happen. So the most they're going to be able to achieve is this. And for them, that is a huge improvement. Notice I was relaxed. My feet are fairly close together. I'm supporting myself on my entire foot. I'm walking flat, flat, flat. But I can feel my feet are still flexing a little bit. And I'm comfortable in that. You have to accept your limitations for what they physically are to work through them to be able to get to where you need to be. Now, speaking of those skinny calf muscles, if the person is wearing slacks and you can't see what that leg is underneath the fabric, there's a dead giveaway. Look at their shoes. And if there are no creases from doing this, from flexing in the front of that shoe, you know that they're not flexing the foot. You know they haven't been flexing the foot. I've worked with people that we came to working with this flexing foot thing, and I had noticed that their shoes looked like they were new from not having any creases in them. and I asked them how long they've had those shoes. And the answer might surprise you. And at first, it did surprise me early on when I was doing this. I said, well, I've had these for years. And in one case, it was, gosh, these are about 10 years old. No creases in the front. And the only reason for that is, well, they haven't been wearing them at all. But they say, yeah, these are the ones I normally wear. They're up here. Just by that, on day one, you've already got it up here that these are the limitations they have. So don't try to get them to do things they're physically unable to do, because they will just have problem after problem. You'll both become frustrated. So everybody, take a moment and look at that. From the very beginning, what are these muscles like? What are their shoes like? Do they have creases or not? And compare that with everything else you see to know what the capabilities of that person is going to be for what they want to do and for what you, if you're the helper or therapist, wants to try to advance them into. To be commonsensical, to be honest with that person. These are your issues. This is what this means. So we're going to have more of a challenge to get you to do what you want to do because of this. But if you can be honest with the person by knowing what you're seeing, recognizing it, understanding it, and conveying that to them, then they don't have any expectations beyond what is reasonable. And they can then understand why some of this is more important for them to do. And believe me, the therapists and the caregivers out there that you're trying your best to get these people to do more because, well, just because. It will help you a great deal to understand why they're not able to do what you're trying to get them to do. They don't have the capability, they don't have the capacity to do that. The forward stride is a problem because now your body is moving forward, you're supporting yourself on just 1/3 to 1/4 of the surface area on one foot. 100% of surface area on 2 feet. You stand on 1 foot, now you're down to 50%. Now you stand on just the ball and toes of that foot, now you're down to 25%. So you're trying to do the same thing of supporting your body and moving your body with less and less surface area down here. And what did we say a few videos back about the stability of this building up here, of the body up here? The smaller the area of the foundation, the more pressure you have to have pushing down into the floor. Well, if these calf muscles aren't very capable, how are they going to generate the added pressure down into the floor to support their body as their body is moving? The answer is they're not. And for those people that have adequate muscle down in that area where they're able to flex that foot a little bit, still coming forward, if they have that restrictive posture, they're going to have the problems with pushing enough pressure down in that area of the foot to support their body, because the scary stuff comes back. Some of the guarding comes back because coming forward on that foot, and then if that pressure in that forward foot is a little bit too heavy, they're pushing themselves back. That's where the big scary problems come back in, the restrictions come back in, the guarding comes back in, and everything is like, woof, I hit a roadblock until you break it down and work through those little pieces of the roadblock and realize, oh yeah, I'm doing that same thing, but now I just have to do it better because I'm coming forward. I have to have better transfer of body weight, better control, better this, better that, better everything. So many of you will become discouraged, but what are you going to do about it? How are you going to handle it? Well, you just back up a little bit, say, what did I not learn through fourth, third stance and all this other stuff, and what did I not learn playing with all the balls or any of the other games that you were playing to learn these different movements? Learn how to control that pressure in your feet in different areas and relax your posture, squat. And you have to go back. You have to go back and play with that stuff as you go through this process. This is not, oh, I've learned the first, I've learned the second, I've learned the third, I'm ready for the fourth now. Okay, I understand the fourth, now I can just keep going. It doesn't work that way. This is a lifelong process. And even to get to a better movement pattern, to get these pressures in your feet better, relaxed posture, that's going to take some of you 6 months, a year, and it's always going to be back and forth because the degeneration in our head from our neurodegenerative disorder continues. So we're trying to keep up with that. Plus, we're trying to deal with all the issues that we already have and work through those. It takes time. So the book has a great deal of information in it about how to do these things, what kind of problems you could expect, how do you work with all that, and the videos are showing you, and again, we're talking about the same material. So the videos are a companion to the book. The companion meaning they're both required. The book, you can sit down and read that over and over again if you need to about different areas, going back and forth. Just try to get that up here. And the videos just allow you to hear it, maybe in a little bit different form, and to also see it to where then it starts to make sense of, oh, that's what that looks like. That's what I was supposed to be doing. Oh, that person that he's showing, that's what I'm doing, or that's what they were talking about in the book, what I was talking about in the book. It all is a big puzzle coming together for you. How do I get through this? You have to take time. Use the book as the reference that it's meant to be. It's not a novel. It's not meant for you to just read through and got it. Now we can move on. And more of it, you need to be going back and forth with yourself, just working that, and then using the book and the videos as a reminder of, oh yeah, I forgot about that. If you are the type of person that becomes easily frustrated, well, all of this trying to get better is going to frustrate you even more. If you're one of those that say, I want to have it happen quick, I don't want to deal with all this crap. I'm smart enough or I'm physically able enough. I don't want to deal with all that. I just want it to happen quick or forget it. Well, you best settle your bad self down just a little bit. Now, I started really working on my movement back in like 2005. That's when I took some dedicated time and effort to just try to figure out what I could do to help myself get better. But recall that I didn't start to understand all this stuff that I'm sharing with you until, oh my gosh, it was 7, 8 years later that it all started to really come together of what I was actually doing. And then it took more time to put it together for finally this product. So another point was talking about this pushing stuff that we do with our feet to feel the pressures in our feet. That took me 3 years. It took me honestly 3 years before I could feel what the other people were telling me that they were feeling in their feet or doing with their feet, and they were a little cryptic with that because, of course, they didn't really understand it to the degree that we're talking about it here. And this was in my dance uh, studio stuff, and they were talking about, well, you have to get down and you're pushing your body over, and I couldn't reproduce that push, and I have an MD. Big deal. I'm supposed to know this stuff, I said, but I'm having trouble trying to reproduce that. And I was embarrassed at times because I didn't know and I couldn't feel it. And then finally, 3 years later after I began, I started to feel it. It was one day I went, oh, oh my God, that's what it is. And then it started the process of, okay, now I've got that. Now what about this? It took a lot of time. Now I tell that story not to scare you, but just to enlighten you. And it's not going to take you 3 years to feel the pressure on your feet and recognize that push, because I'm giving you the material, the information to find it quicker than that. You don't have to go through that process. You don't have to go through all those years of trying to find simple things that I'm already giving you in the book and the videos. So please use all that stuff to shorten your task. Get down to, okay, this is what I need to do, this is what I need to feel, and this is how I need to feel it. Okay, now to go with it. So how long it's going to take you? It should not be as long as it took me to come to the basic understanding of what you need to do and some of your improving ability. But what is going to be the same is, just like me, you need to keep using this in some fashion every day of your life. Some days more than others. Some days you're kind of aloof to it because you're doing just great. But when you need to come back to it and you have the understanding, it's not a great big deal. But again, we have this problem up in our head that we have to stay ahead of. It keeps going, so we have to stay ahead of what's happening there with what's happening down here. And you can do much better than you think you can of what you've been told, but every day. You need to learn this stuff. That's why I'm doing these videos. That's why I put all that information in the book. Everything I could think of, everything I could remember, everything I've done, witnessed, taught, it's all right there. Now it's up to you just to take your precious time to read, reread, reread over and over and over again, and doing this and playing with it until you don't need that anymore because you know it here. It just takes time. You can do so much more than you think you can do. It's a personal choice. It's a personal commitment.